Mom wants us to come home for New Year, my husband said suddenly during our first holiday season as a married couple. I told him I wanted to visit my own family too, but he refused. To make things worse, his mother started criticizing me, saying I wasn't acting like a good wife and calling me a bad daughter-in-law. No matter how much I tried to talk it through, my husband always took his mother's side. I had enough. I couldn't keep playing this family game. I decided to take steps that would end my connection with my in-laws for good. My name is Abby, and I'm 28 years old. I married Malcolm, my boyfriend of 2 years. Our life as newlyweds was going well. We both worked full-time, so we shared the household chores. I didn't want all the housework to fall on me just because I was the woman, so I made sure we split the tasks fairly. I was happy with my job and personal life, and I even started thinking about having a child once things settled down. 1 month after our wedding, my in-laws suddenly invited me to their home. Actually, invited isn't the right word. It felt more like a summons. I'd met them before the wedding, but I'd been too nervous to really talk with them. I thought this could be a good chance to connect with my mother-in-law, so I went there with a positive attitude. However, when we arrived, things quickly turned sour. As soon as my husband and I sat down in the living room, my mother-in-law called out, "Abby, why are you sitting so comfortably? Make me some tea." I was taken aback and apologized, a bit flustered. I thought they'd treat me as a guest at their house. I didn't expect anything fancy, but I also didn't expect to be treated like a servant. As I made the tea, my mother-in-law kept complaining, "You're taking too long, Abby, don't you know you should warm the cup first?" She sighed constantly, watching every move I made. My father-in-law and my husband stayed silent. I thought to myself, if she has so many complaints, why doesn't she make the tea herself? I admit, I wasn't great at making tea, but it bothered me that she kept imposing her own high standards on me. Then, on another day, I was about to start cleaning our house when my mother-in-law suddenly called, asking us to come over. I hurried to her house with my husband, only to find her already angry. "Why didn't you bring any gifts? Isn't it normal to bring a gift when visiting your in-laws?" She scolded. She scolded me without any warning. "I didn't plan to go out today and only decided to come here at the last minute," I explained, but she cut me off. "No excuses. These days, daughters-in-law are so quick to disrespect their mothers-in-law. I really ended up with a lousy daughter-in-law." I apologized, feeling trapped. Neither my husband nor my father-in-law said a word to help me. I didn't need them to defend me completely. I just wanted someone to step in and stop her unreasonable rant. After her lecture, I whispered to my husband, "Malcolm, can you say something to your mom?" It was a last-minute visit. There was no way I could have prepared a gift, but he just sighed, sounding annoyed. "Shouldn't you always have some gifts ready, just in case?" I agree with my mom on this. I was shocked and hurt. Is he serious? Why is he siding with his mom? My opinion of him was quickly dropping, and I was growing to resent my mother-in-law even more. After that, she constantly called me over, forcing me to follow their old-fashioned customs. She expected me to do all the chores, prioritize my husband and in-laws, and spend every New Year's holiday at their house. I thought, isn't this thinking too outdated? By our first New Year's holiday after marriage, I was already dreading visiting my husband's family. One day, he told me, "We're expected to go back to my parents' house for New Year's." "What? When do I get to visit my own family?" I asked. He shrugged. "It might be tough this time. We'll decide after New Year's." What? I was angry. "We promised we'd visit both families equally, remember?" He sighed, clearly annoyed. "It can't be helped now, right? Why bring this up again?" Why was he acting like this was no big deal? Before we got married, we had agreed that we would visit both families regularly. We'd even rented an apartment halfway between our parents' homes to make it fair. But now, we'd already visited his family 6 times, and I'd only been able to see my family once. This time, he expected us to stay at his parents' house from the end of the work week until work resumed after the holiday. I couldn't accept such a ridiculous plan. I told him, "At least let me visit my family before work starts again." He replied, "Ask Mom." So, I called my mother-in-law. As soon as she picked up, the first thing she said was, "Abby, you're in charge of making the special New Year's dinner." "Fine, I understand, but I will visit my family before work starts again, so please be prepared for that," I said firmly. My mother-in-law raised her voice in surprise. "What's this about prioritizing your own family? You lack the proper attitude of a daughter-in-law." She lectured me for an hour on the phone, leaving me totally drained. When I complained to my husband, he shrugged. "Mom just wants you to be a good wife, Abby, she always says. I want her to be a wife suitable for our family. His indifference was wearing me out, too. In the end, we spent the entire New Year's holiday at his parents' place. It's your first New Year as a married couple, so focus on his family this time, my own mom had advised, so I reluctantly agreed. But during our stay at my in-laws' house, I felt like a maid. I was responsible for everything, preparing meals, cleaning the house, doing the laundry, taking out the trash. I had to do it all by myself. When I asked my husband for help, I got scolded. Abby, isn't this a wife's job? Malcolm works hard all year, so he deserves to rest during New Year's, right? You're being really inconsiderate, my mother-in-law said. I wanted to shout. I work full-time, too, thanks to you. I haven't rested at all during the holidays, but I kept my thoughts to myself. It was the beginning of the new year and the first year of our marriage, so I forced myself to get through it. After the holiday, I still hadn't seen my family. When I finally planned to visit them, my husband said casually, "I'm tired, I'll stay home," leaving me to go see my family alone. That was probably when I started losing trust in him. Of course, I was frustrated with my mother-in-law and my husband's family, but even more than that, I was fed up with my husband for never taking me seriously when I tried to talk about how I felt. Even after New Year's, my mother-in-law didn't stop her harassment. When I began refusing to visit her house, she started calling every day. By the time I'd wake up in the morning, I'd already have 10 missed calls from her. One morning, I saw I had missed calls from my mother-in-law. Thinking something serious had happened, I called her back, only for her to start yelling at me. "So you finally woke up? You're not responsible enough as a wife. Get up at 5 a.m. every day and make Malcolm a nutritious meal." Even if I got home late from work, she would scold me, saying, "I heard from Malcolm, it's unacceptable for a woman to stay late at work. A wife who doesn't come home before her husband is terrible. Prioritize your home, you selfish girl." I almost told her that I earned more than her son and actually contributed more to our living expenses, but I held it in and just muttered, yeah. Over time, I stopped answering her calls and deleted her voicemails without listening. This went on for about a year. Then the dreaded New Year's season came around again, and my husband started pestering me. "Mom says you should come home for the New Year's holiday," he insisted, but this time, I firmly told him, "I'm not going this year. I can't take it anymore. I'm not a housekeeper." Annoyed, my husband grumbled, "Abby, don't upset my mom. You married me, so at least be considerate of my family." "Excuse me? You never even make an effort to visit my family, and I've worked really hard to get along with your mom. That's why she's always mad," he snapped. "You need to try harder." I felt my anger rising. Why is he acting like this is all my fault? Then he dropped the final bomb. "Mom says you're a failure. That's why she's mad at you." At that moment, the frustration I'd been holding back finally exploded. "A failure?" I thought. "I've put your family first all this time, for your sake, and this is what I get?" Taking a deep breath, I looked him in the eye and said, "I'm cutting ties with your family. I'm never seeing your mom or dad again." He looked shocked, but then quickly realized arguing would be pointless. "Fine," he said, "I'll go to their place alone for the holidays." After that, things were a bit tense between us, and we talked less at home, but honestly, I didn't care. For the first time in ages, I was able to spend the New Year's holiday with my own family, and that alone made me incredibly happy. When I arrived at my parents' house, my mom looked concerned. "Abby, is everything okay with Malcolm's family? I can't help but worry." "I'm fine, Mom. I made it clear I'm not going to be involved with them anymore." "Is that so? I hope everything will be all right," she said, still looking a little uneasy. I enjoyed the time at home, leaving the chores to my mom for a change. I was finally relaxing when the doorbell rang. I quickly went to answer it, only to find my husband standing there, looking exhausted. I was shocked to see him. What? I thought you were going to your parents' house today," I said, letting him in. He stood there, saying nothing, until I finally demanded an explanation. "Well?" He looked at me and finally spoke. "Mom said to bring you with me." My mother-in-law's persistence was unbelievable, but I held my ground. "Didn't I tell you I'm not going back to your parents' house? When I said I was cutting ties with them, you agreed, didn't you, Malcolm?" I reminded him. "Yeah, but Mom's really angry. She says it's unthinkable for a daughter-in-law not to visit her in-laws." "I don't care," I said firmly. "I can't take your mother's harassment anymore, and your dad just ignores it all. I'm done with them." Malcolm looked worried, "But that's a problem, Abby. Like Mom said, you married into this family, please consider my position. Your position? I snapped. What era are you living in? I didn't get married to be your parents' housekeeper. I'm tired of dealing with in-laws who harass me and a husband who won't stand up for me. I'd never spoken so directly before. He looked startled but still didn't seem to get it. If you keep taking your mother's side, I'll divorce you. Divorce? You're kidding, right? I'm serious. Why should I stay married to a husband who doesn't help me and only does what his mother wants? I'd be much happier on my own. When he saw how serious I was, his face went pale. Just then, his phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, he looked alarmed. It was his mother. He answered in a nervous voice, and I could hear her loud voice even from where I stood. Losing patience, I grabbed the phone from him. Hello, mother-in-law. It's me, Abby. No matter what you say to Malcolm, I'm not coming over anymore. What? You're my daughter-in-law, aren't you? I won't accept that, she shot back, undeterred. Daughter-in-law? What is this? The Stone Age? It's the 21st century, I replied sharply. What an insolent bride. You can at least show up for family events. No way, I said firmly. Malcolm is free to visit as much as he wants, but I won't be coming. Whether it's a special occasion or not, I absolutely won't be going. I told her firmly, if you keep pushing, I'll divorce Malcolm. Divorce? Are you trying to bring shame to him? She snapped. Then fine, I said, let's divorce, and I'll remarry under my own last name. How about that? That's absurd. I won't allow it, she fumed. Do as you please, I replied calmly, but no matter what you say, I have no intention of dealing with you or your family again. Goodbye. With that, I hung up. Then I turned to Malcolm and said, here's the deal. If you take your mother's side, we're done. But if you understand my point of view and treat me as an equal, we can make this work. Malcolm looked down for a long time, thinking. Finally, he said, I understand. I choose you, Abby. Since then, I stopped visiting my in-laws, and my mother-in-law stopped contacting us as well. Malcolm, maybe realizing how he had acted, now regularly visits my parents, and, of course, my parents treat him well and appreciate him like their own son. They certainly don't treat him like a servant. I know we'll face challenges in the future, but with Malcolm choosing to stand by me, I'm hopeful we'll tackle each one together.